Good day, classmates, and especially to our professor, Dr. Kapuyan. So, my assigned topic is all about education reform in the Philippines. So, let us have to tackle first the Philippine education system. So, what happened to the Philippine education system before and at recent? The Philippine education system has evolved over hundreds of years of colonial occupation, first by Spain and then by the US, through the martial law and the People's Power Revolution that brought democracy to the sprawling archipelago. The education sector's development has mirrored the changes in the country's administration. Today, the focus is on expanding access and ensuring more Filipinos receive a decent basic education as a means of reducing poverty and improving national competitiveness. The World Bank notes that in the other countries, such as initiatives have brought a large economic benefits. The K-12 reform was introduced in 2016 and funding was increased, easing concerns that its implementation would be hindered by limited resources, and winning over new President Rodrigo Duterte, who was initially skeptical about the plan. So next is the system. The Philippines is a vibrant and diverse education system with the government, assisted with the private sector, providing a wide range of education from early years up to college and university across the archipelago. The Department of Education oversees the provision of basic education. The private sector includes the kindergarten, international schools, and religious schools. So in 2015 to 2016, there were 14.9 million children enrolled in the primary school and 6.01 million at the secondary level. History. So today's system has been shaped by the Philippines' colonial and post-war history. Under the Spanish, education was largely provided by missionaries and the study of religion was compulsory. But most Filipinos were not included. So it was only in the 19th century that they were able to attend the universities and that had been established 2 centuries earlier. And it was only when the US took control of the Philippines in 1899 that consideration was given to non-religious education, English language teaching and primary school education for all, or the free primary school education for all. Next is the K-12 implementation. So 3 years since the Enhanced Basic Education Act, or the EBEA, known as the K-12 law, was signed, the Philippines has finally embarked on its most groundbreaking change to the schooling system in decades. That is called the K-12 reform. So the K-12 extends compulsory schooling to grades 11 to 12, adding 2 years to secondary school, and makes secondary education compulsory. Prior to its implementation, the Philippines was the only country in Asia and one of only a few in the world to have a basic education system of just 10 years. So the IBEA also mandated kindergarten as the start of compulsory formal education, while the Kindergarten Act of 2012 made preschool free. Next is the 10-point plan. So the shift of K-12 began under President Duterte's predecessor, Benigno Aquino III, who approached education as an investment in Filipinos and offered a 10-point plan for improving education as part of his election campaign. As well as the K-12, the 10 fixes included the preschooling for all, technical vocational training as an alternative in the senior high school, working with local governments to build new schools, proficiency in science and math, and working with the private schools as an essential partners in basic education. The plan is to expand the government assistance to students and teachers in a private education, supporting as many as 1 million students in the private high schools through the Education Service Contracting Scheme. Next is the Education for All. So in 2015, the Education for All, or EFA, initiative included provision to ensure all Filipinos were able to achieve what UNESCO calls functional literacy, the ability to read, write, and do calculations at a level that is sufficient for the country in which a particular person lives. So the key objectives for EFA. First, providing education options for all out-of-school youth or the young people. Next, eliminating dropouts and repetition during the first 3 years of school. Third, encouraging the completion of a full cycle of basic schooling to a satisfactory level at every grade by all Filipino children. The last one, committing to the attainment of the basic education competencies for everyone. The EFA 5K Trust. First, the school-based management, the development of the teacher education, the national learning strategies, quality assurance and accountability. And the last one, changes to the administration of the DepEd using the latest technology to ensure more effective use of resources, whether staff or funds. So next is the raising standards. So much of the official discussion on K-12 centers on the need to raise the standards, improve the teacher quality, and encourage completion of the basic schooling. The dropout rate has remained high, and data from the Functional Literacy, Education and Mass Media Survey produced by the Philippine Statistics Authority or the PSA shows that around 4 million children and young people were out of school in 2013, while as of April 2016, 16.6 million Filipinos or 39% of the workforce had not completed the basic education. The World Bank noted the continuing problems with access and inequality. The report found that only 53% of the poorest 20% of the households sent their children to high school, while 81% of the wealthiest families did so. To address the problem, the government aims to incentivize attendance, extend school feeding program, and expand programs under the ALS, a second chance, designed to ensure more Filipinos complete their basic education. So President Duterte has indicated that an enhanced ALS, better targeted with wider coverage, more partnerships and approaches that meet learners' needs, will be one of his administration's major legacies. Next is the allocation of funds. So more effective targeting of funds to the areas of the greatest need is therefore a priority alongside an overall increase in budget allocation. So Briones told the Education Summit on November 2016 that there is a need for a drastic improvement in absorptive capacity. The Duterte administration is planning to introduce a series of financial management reforms to improve education outcomes, including enhanced leadership, supervision, and oversight over finance, administration, and procurement. The creation of an education program delivery unit to monitor budget execution and intervene to ensure funds move smoothly to where they are needed. A financial management information system to track budget spending in real time, and more proactive approach to spending. Next is the teaching standard. So in recent years, DepEd has introduced a number of measures to improve the standards of teaching, revising professional benchmarks, and providing more on-the-job training. It has also made a concerted effort to attract the brightest and the best for raising compensation and making the selection process more competitive. So in the past, teaching was poorly paid and often seen as fallback course for university applicants who did not get onto their preferred course. So studies found teacher knowledge in both elementary and high school was low. So and that the professional development programs were insufficient. So let's proceed now to the quality of instruction. So the government has been trying to rationalize the state sector by putting a halt of the establishment of a new course programs by state universities and local colleges that do not meet the standards set by the CHED by encouraging rationalization and hopefully reducing course duplication. It is also trying to raise standards through the introduction of quality institutional sustainability assessment. So for the government to truly improve the quality assurance system of education, it should provide strong data on the performance of school. Once analysis is provided on the 10 best or worst performing schools, the market will be able to decide based on this information. So Chito Salazar, President and CEO of FENMA Education, told the OBG Philippine Qualifications Framework. Next is the research partnership. So research and development, or the R&D, has also been focused in the areas such as food security and environment and natural disasters, biodiversity and health systems in order to support the Duterte administration's socio-economic objectives. So as part of the push for reform, the government is keen to encourage increased private investment and internationalization in higher education. So some institutions already partner with overseas universities in the silly courses, while the Philippine California Advanced Research Institute, or the PICARI, was initiated in 2013 by the scientific community and academics to boost the country's research capacity by supporting the postdoctoral scholars and R&D proposals with the potential to address the Philippines' developmental issues. So that's all, and thank you. Okay, thank you and God bless.